Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Quintessential Cocktails. I'm Mackenzie, the spirits manager here at Everything Wine & More, and today we're going to be looking at the Pisco Sour. So we could have talked about the whiskey sour or amaretto sour, but I thought we'd show some love to Pisco. And Pisco is an unaged grape distillate made in Peru or Chile. So it's a eau de vie, it's unaged. In this case, this Pisco is made from muscatel grapes. And what you need for the Pisco Sour is Pisco, of course, Angostura bitters, lime, and egg whites. So any sour recipe is generally going to be spirit, citrus, and sugar, in this case simple syrup, and then egg whites, which are optional. There are some vegan options as well. So first we're going to start with our eggs, and remember, always buy your eggs fresh. And I'm just gonna crack it on the countertop, and I just want the egg whites, and I'm gonna gently pass the egg back and forth between the two pieces of the shell, just getting the white in the cocktail. And the reason I want to do the egg first is because if I break the yolk and I ruin the cocktail because all my citrus and spirit's already in there, then I got to throw the whole cocktail away. So do the egg first. And then I'm gonna do the simple syrup. So in this case, I'm doing 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, which sometimes is referred to as a rich simple syrup. I just always make rich simple syrup because it's a bit more versatile. All you need to do is cut down on the amount if the recipe calls for 1-to-1. So in this case, we want 1/2 ounce of simple syrup 1-to-1, or just 1/4 ounce of this rich simple syrup. And you can always adjust to sweetness as well. If you think that you want it a bit sweeter, there's nothing wrong with that. These recipes are always just starting points to figure out what suits best your flavor profile, right? Like everyone likes a different level of sweetness. Cocktail making should be fun. So we got our egg white, our simple syrup, and then let's do the 2 ounces of Pisco. And then fresh lime juice. And I want 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. Okay, now we want to whisk it up. So there's a couple options. You can either do what some people call a dry shake, so shaking it without ice. I try to avoid that because I had the unfortunate experience of a cocktail shaker breaking open while I was dry shaking, and I was covered in whatever sour I was making at the time. So I opt for one of these milk frothers instead. So I say work smart, not hard. So I'm gonna whisk this up with the milk frother, and I'm just gonna dunk that in the cocktail until it froths up. And it doesn't take long at all. That's plenty. Okay, now I'm gonna add my ice. And I'm gonna give it a good hard shake for about 10 seconds. Okay, now I'm gonna strain it into my cocktail glass. And the last video when we did the margarita, we double strained it. I'm not gonna double strain it through a tea strainer this time because I really want as much of that frothy egg white as possible. And then for a garnish, I'm gonna use Angostura bitters. This is one of my favorite garnishes in terms of techniques as well. I think it just looks really aesthetically pleasing. So I'm just gonna be very gently dropping a few dashes of Angostura bitters on the egg white foam, just like really carefully. Let's just do 3 little dashes or little drops. And then I'm gonna take a toothpick and I'm just gonna drag it through the 3 dots. And the goal is to kind of get like a little heart-shaped drop of Angostura. Now you might have to use your imagination for some of those hearts, but I think it's a really aesthetically pleasing cocktail. It's a really tasty cocktail. And this same sort of structure works for a whiskey sour if I swap out the Pisco for whiskey and the lime for lemon juice. If I opt out of the egg whites, then I can just swap the Pisco for white rum and I've got a daiquiri. So it's a really versatile recipe. But the question I want to ask this time is not your favorite Pisco Sour variant. I want to know, what's your favorite Pisco recipe that isn't the Pisco Sour? Because Pisco kind of gets typecast as only being used for Pisco Sours. So let us know in the comments, what's your favorite recipe that uses Pisco that isn't a Pisco Sour? Anyways, see you next month.